engagement on Pinterest, and maybe you're not even sure, how to adapt your content that you usually post to maybe that Facebook place, and maybe want to try Pinterest, but we've got this show for you today that's going to just blow your socks off. We have one of my favorite people in the whole world with us. It's Holly Homer, and she is amazing. She's an incredible speaker. If you don't know who she is the founder of kidsactivitiesblog.com, where she has 3.5 million member Facebook group. Yeah, that's a million, folks. And a Pinterest account with over 370,000 followers. So we're going to pick her brain today. As always, make sure you ask your questions down below, and we'll try to pull those up during the show today and answer them to the best of our ability. Elisa, how are you doing today? I need to go check to make sure you didn't really break everything.
No, I checked. And it's going.
Working.
It's
okay,
live.
Awesome.
We're live. So hopefully everyone found us. Word to the wise. Add a donate button to your scheduled live, and your live disappears.
Yes.
That's what you get for being nice.
That's right. So do donate, but just don't mess with your life.
Do donate. Don't mess. Exactly right. Yeah. Jeff, I heard you turn off your air conditioner a minute ago. You're going to make it?
I will make it. I've had it. It's like freezing right now because so I can hopefully drift through the show. Okay. So we'll be good.
Excellent. I'm glad to be here. Really excited to have Holly
here from you. It's not that hot.
Well, I'm out like in the middle of the field without any trees in a man cave with, it can get toasty in here. I'm just saying.
Now we know the truth. Holly, I'm so glad to have you on. Jeff's been talking about you forever. We wanted to have you on forever. And when we were talking about, all right, what do we talk about today? I feel like there are a lot of people on Facebook who love Facebook. Facebook is great for what it's great for, but maybe they want a little bit more website traffic. So we thought of you.
That's right.
And who doesn't want more website traffic? Let's just throw that out there.
Yet to find those people. But I do have one really important question before we dive into the meatier stuff. How do you make unicorn slime?
Well, you might check by my Pinterest account because it is one of my top pins and one of the top blog posts on Kids Activities blog. So
yeah, there's a lot of people making that right now. You know that. I'm sure.
It's so true. And one of the things that I love about slime is it cuts through all generations. Little kids like it, you just can't let them eat it. And then teenagers like it because it's cool. And then, what adult wouldn't want to be playing with unicorn slime? It's amazing.
Yeah, I struggle with that sometimes because I don't have children. I may have to borrow some after all this mess is over.
I was going to say, slime is a lot less messy if you just do it without children.
See, right. I get it in my beard and stuff, and it's just not fun. So.
Ooh.
Makes it sparkly, but it doesn't come out easily. So let's get diving into it. So we've got some people here I want to pull up. I see Anna. She says, let me pull this comment up. She goes, I watch you guys all the time. This is the first time catching one live. Awesome to have you here. Thanks for catching us live. Boy, we've already got some great questions. But Elisa, let's go ahead and ask. I can't even speak today. We talked about unicorn slime, which is super important.
Yes,
but you also, Holly, have a marketing consultancy and courses. So what are you hearing lately? Because we're all kind of in this transition, lockdown thing. What have you learning from your audience about Pinterest right now? Are more people asking you for those kind of services or not?
Yeah, and I think the biggest concern and is what has changed and what has not. And I think when you're dealing with any kind of algorithm, one of the things that you want to make sure is whatever you're putting out there is what they consider timely and trending. And so one of the things that you see more often on Pinterest right now are the things that, and this makes so much sense, it's kind of like stating the obvious, but what are people looking for right now? Those are the pins that are doing really well. So on Kids Activities blog, a lot of our stuff is doing really, really well on Pinterest right now because in fact, I laugh that we've been in training for this for years because we've been writing about like what to do with your kids at home with very few supplies and how to educate them, casually through play. And also provide a lot of resources for parents and teachers. And so it's like, well, we kind of had to beg people to come until about 3.5 weeks ago. And all of a sudden, boom, people want to know what we're doing.
Yeah. So this is a random question, but I used to have a show called Crafting with Crap. Do you still do that one? Or that, because that was so much fun. It was so funny.
We did 7 seasons of Craft with Crap, and you can watch reruns on AKA Mom, the Facebook page. But we have not been in production of Craft with Crap recently. But yeah, I feel like we need to do like the pandemic version, and we could just do it via Zoom or something.
Right, but you can't use like tissue paper or toilet paper, or because you gotta hoard that stuff. You can't like use it for your crafts. So even the toilet paper roll, those get high dollar.
The roll itself?
Yes.
Yeah.
You never know.
Break it down, spread it out. It's good to go.
But I'm glad we're covering the really important things like unicorn climb and Craft with Crap.
Well, after everybody's been like cooped up so much, the craziness kind of comes out.
Yeah, exactly. We're a little on the edge.
Yeah.
All right, but I do have a serious question for you. So I'm seeing a lot of really amazing creativity, people making up these parody songs and dances. Love, love, love. So what are you seeing people do that's really creative to implement Pinterest marketing now or to adapt to the times that we're in?
Yeah, I think like one of the things, and this is actually one of the recommendations that I've had for sponsors, because this is such a weird time. Like there's people that still need to get their word out about the business, but they don't want it to sound insensitive or or like offend people who might be in a different situation or sick. I mean, like there's so many kind of minefields that could happen from something like this, and so. One of the things that I would say is like, you are an expert in something, like any businesses, they're an expert in something that's useful. And so if you could produce content or pay someone to produce content around that zone of genius in a helpful and resource way, the opportunities today when people are actually looking for those things blow any opportunities out of the water that we've had in the past. And like Kids Activities blog last month had more, almost doubled our best month for traffic ever.
Wow.
And that's counting the days when Facebook was really generous and I could just send millions of people from Facebook to my blog. And so that just goes to show you that today is really, really an opportunity to be helpful. And I think when businesses look at it that way, then the doors just open and opportunity just opens.
I think that's great. And I want to pull up this comment from Allison, because I think it's great. She goes, Holly totally inspired me a few weeks ago to stop being bummed about the recent events and focus on how I can help my audience now. She's so inspirational, has helped me from almost day one of my blogging journey. So there's some high praise there. Yes. So awesome, Allison.
I had a little come to Jesus meeting with a few folks, and I'm not calling Allison out. I think she just happened to be passing through.
Right.
But because it's so easy. It's so easy to get worried about our own situation. I think this happens with us all is oh my gosh, what is tomorrow going to look like? But when I really thought about what this looks like for my audience, which is generally moms with small kids, all of a sudden they're stuck inside with children and not a plan. Right. This is stress. And so if we can give them just a tiny vacation or a tiny tip or a tiny way through that in an easier way, then that is the biggest community building opportunity ever. Because all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I can make it to bedtime today because I went to Kids Activities blog and I found this, or because I opened Holly's email and she said this, or because I found this pin on Pinterest that led me down this, this amazing hole of all these things I can do and all these resources that are available to me. And so that's what's so beautiful about Pinterest, about all these other places, is that they are kind of now a portal into your community when you are serving your readers or your customers at the highest level.
So I want to go back and talk a little bit about, you said about opportunities right now, because it's a balance, I think, between being opportunistic, and we've seen people on Facebook and on Pinterest that are that way, and then also what you were saying is helping other people right now. And so I was talking with my pal Eric Fisher the other day, and it was amazing because we see all these memes and stuff like, I've reached the end of Netflix, and I'm like, I don't know about you, but it sounds like the same thing, but I'm busier now than I have been before. And I don't think it's anything other than just serving people who need help right now. And I'm not gouging people or whatever, but I think a lot of businesses need to kind of make that mind shift because you said like, okay, let's have a pity party for like 15 minutes and then, okay, let's get started, So, I mean, what do you tell the people who businesses are just kind of, they seem like they're in vapor lock right now?
Yeah. And like my heart goes out to so many, service businesses and businesses that are just like the door has been locked without any, vision of what the future holds. And so that's when I would definitely, if you have time to start investigating, I would start investigating and creating, because the only way, and I look back at the way, I've been blogging for 15 years now, and I was, always one of the first ones on any platforms that came along, and Jeff knows this. We met on Google Plus.
Right.
Yeah, we're a big deal over there.
That's right.
But but when you do that, you don't get to learn from others. You get to learn from your mistakes, because that's the only option. There's not we couldn't go onto Google Plus and wait for someone to write the manual. We were there while the guy that wrote, and girl who wrote the manual wrote the manual. And we were making those mistakes right alongside them. And so I think there's been this kind of, there's a right way to do social media. Hogwash.
Right.
Stop
right.
it. You do not need a course. You do not need to do, all you need to do is hop on and start testing things. All these networks, Pinterest has an amazing, analytics. So you're going to test some things out, and then you're going to go open your analytics, and you're going to see what was working, and you're going to do more of that. And you're going to see what's not working, and you're going to do less of that.
Right.
And that's how you are going to figure out what works for your business. And you can do that today for free in your spare time around Tiger King.
Right.
On the couch. That's right.
So I just want to circle real quick back to what you said about Google Plus. So yes, that was a failed network, but we were in there and we learned. Elise was there, and we learned from it. In fact, to be honest, Google had live video. If you don't know, everybody's going live now that they're in quarantine, but Google had this stuff way before Facebook even thought about it. And the skills that we learned back then, because Holly was on my shows and we were all going live, we didn't know what we were doing. And that has translated 5 years later to what we can do now. And so we've learned from those mistakes, just like you were saying.
Yeah. And what you may not realize, and I don't even know if Jeff knows this, is that my success on Facebook was based on my Pinterest strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you got to explain this, because I thought you were on Facebook first, right?
I was, but I didn't have a big community over there. I had a regular page just like everybody else. And so,
so let's talk to those people who have Facebook pages now, just like everybody else. It's probably not bringing them a lot of traffic, maybe a little bit of community building going on, but they want a little bit more. So tell us about what got you over to Pinterest and how the two work together.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, when Pinterest came out, I was like, not another social network.
Right.
Like, stop it. And then, but then very quickly, and I was not in the early beta, I was in the later beta, and Pinterest is in beta for 18 months. I mean, let's be honest, it was for a really long time. But, what won me over before, in fact, what won me over to send that email begging for an invitation was that I opened up Google Analytics like I do every day, and I was getting traffic from Pinterest. I was getting traffic from a social network that I wasn't even on. That's when I was like, ding, 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 this is a good thing. So based on that, I hopped onto Pinterest and started just pinning a lot of really good stuff. And I mean, at that time, it was good stuff. It's nothing compared to what you see on Pinterest today, because of course, everybody ups their game over time. But in the early days of Pinterest, it was like more like achievable photos and things that I could take. But so anyway, I started pinning things and creating boards, and I loved the ability to, share just the best and the brightest around the internet without any negativity to me, if that makes sense. Right. So like on most social networks, you're like, oh, well, it's all about me. It's the Holly Homer, it's the kids activities blog show. But what I learned from those early days of Pinterest was I got more followers when I was the source of amazing things. And so what I did is I started just going out and curating. And at that time, I was pinning about 80% other people's and 20% my own. And I had a lot of content. So I was doing a lot of pinning. And the crazy thing is in those early days, the more I pinned amazing things, the more followers I got. And so I was just watching that and thinking, well, what if that worked on Facebook? Like on Pinterest, nobody cares how many times you pin a day, as long as it's all amazing. I mean, Pinterest's going to start getting irritated if it's like, oh, that one sucks and that one sucks and that one sucks. But if you're always pinning the best thing out there, then like Pinterest is like, bring it on, and your followers are bring it on. Right. And so that's when I started pushing the boundaries of Facebook, because back then the gurus, and this is the reason why you never listen to gurus, don't ever do it. Nope. Like, do your own testing. Is the gurus were saying you can't post more than twice a day on your Facebook group, or you'll alienate your fans. And then I was like, well, first of all, I have 10,000 fans that are dead. They couldn't be alienated if I tried. Right. In fact, and my initial thought was, let's wake them up, whether they're dead or whether they're alive, and get them to either basically unsubscribe or opt into what I'm doing. And so I started saying, well, and by the way, 2 posts a day weren't reaching my entire audience. So I don't know how that guru figured the mathematical way to alienate someone with things they don't see, but whatever.
Maybe they were just really annoying updates twice a day.
Exactly. Well, and most pages are really spammy, annoying updates. So I totally get why that doesn't work for you. Right. So I started pushing the envelope, and I was like, what if I post every hour during the day? So I'm 12 posts, and I'm obsessed with analytics. So I'm looking at insights every single time I post, and in between posts, and at the end of the day, and then looking back at the day before. And I'm like, well, that's not negative. What if I post every hour, 24 hours a day? And thinking, just like Pinterest, if I'm always posting the best stuff on Facebook for my target reader, like, what's the harm? Like, why would they not want that? Like, why? I mean, and this was back in the earlier days where there were less content creators and curators out there. But back then is the same today, is if you're always posting amazing things that people want to interact with and read and comment on and share, then does it really matter how, a number? That doesn't matter to them. They're in for the adventure. They're in for that.
Awesome.
So where were you finding that many pieces of content to share all around the clock every day?
On Pinterest.
Oh, okay. So you'd find content on Pinterest and then share it to Facebook?
So yeah, and we share it as a, and I also wanted to be strategic. I am on both Facebook and Pinterest to drive traffic to my blog where I monetize. Yeah. So I don't care about photos. I don't care about like memes. Back then memes were a lot less thing, but like I don't care about those things. I care about quality links to teach people that when they see something from me that's amazing, they click through. And so like a lot of my boards started out in the early days of, basically using my boards on Pinterest to find things that we could share on Facebook. And then once it got to Facebook, we were watching stats and we had spreadsheets and stuff behind the scenes that like would keep track of the top posts and all that kind of stuff so that we could repeat those.
So are you still pinning that much every hour a day on your Facebook page now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, probably more than
okay.
I would. Yeah, I don't usually. I mean, like, I don't want this to be about the numbers.
Right.
But we, we post more than anyone out there would ever say is good.
Right. Well, but here's the thing that I think everybody should take away, and I thought what you said about gurus is spot on, because I quit listening to Lisa a long time ago. But I really, I think that you have to test everything, and that's, I mean, ever back even in the Google Plus days, you have always been about the stats and the analytics, because if it wasn't working, you wouldn't do that much. And so you can't just say to everybody, okay, post 12 times a day, and your Facebook reach will grow. That's not how it works, because your audience is not the same as Holly's audience. And so that, I think, is really key. And you test things, and if it goes and you see an increase, you're like, okay, this works. Let's try something else. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And one of the things that I want people to think about is because I actually got something just a few days ago, is like, have you asked your audience about how they're dealing with X, Y, or Z, right, based on the pandemic and that kind of stuff? And I was like, no, but I know exactly what they are doing. I know exactly what they're thinking. I know exactly what they need, because I'm watching the statistics and the analytics on all these platforms. So I see what my top pins are now. So that tells me what people are searching on Pinterest and resonating with what I've pinned, which, for my target customer is a wide variety of things. And then I see what blog posts are more popular right now, and what's coming from search, what questions those people are asking when they type into Google and end up on Kids Activities blog. I know, like, on Facebook, like, what memes, what people are saying and sharing and stuff like that. So, like, you don't, and by the way, this is way more, like, this is like a vote. Every time someone clicks on a link or engages with something, that's like a vote for that. Like, that's what they need. And so you can dive into your existing analytics today and look at what people that follow you already need. Because it's just a simple process as, oh my gosh, if they're repinning those things, the next thing they need is X, and that's what you go create today.
So I like what you were saying about looking at works on Pinterest, sharing that on Facebook. And I feel like one of the really good reasons to share other people's content on Pinterest, if you're a marketer, is to see what is working in other people's content. So if you're a Facebook marketer and you're struggling with what should I post now, what do people want now, you probably have some feeling for that. But if you just share on Pinterest, look at what people are reacting, use that as a source of material. But let's look at it from the other way around. So we have a lot of people, many marketers using Facebook, and for years it's been, Facebook is my number one. It's the most important social for me. And yet there's this Pinterest that has this enormous potential for sending you traffic, and that many marketers have never considered, or maybe they kind of dipped in and felt like, oh, it didn't work. What would you say to somebody who is a Facebook marketer who wants to get started on Pinterest?
Well, first of all, like, there is nothing to lose.
Right.
I mean, it's free.
Yeah, right.
And you likely already have an image on that blog post. I mean, like it's just easy to get started and just try some things. And I wouldn't even worry about your own stuff at first. In fact, like you say, this is a really great way to test things out. So what if you went in and just created the boards you thought that you might want for your business? And I always recommend having, any one piece of content should be able to fit on multiple boards. But the boards would then not all be the same content, but you know what I mean? Right. So I would want to make sure that, that I had, if I make unicorn slime, I want at least 6 or 7 boards that it would fit on, but then, something else might fit on, one of those. So, so go in and kind of cover the topics that you are going to, this is kind of like the categories on your blog. Make sure you have a board for each one of those categories or each one of those topics that you are an expert in. And then go in and find the best and the brightest that's already on Pinterest. And you're an expert, so you know what those are. And you know who those people are in your field. So go repin their top pins. And put those on your boards and see what resonates and see the type of, and that's going to help you also attract the kind of follower on Pinterest that's going to be open to what you're going to post next. So it's not even about you at first. It's about that research and building a following that is even caring what you're doing. And I think that's what's so cool about Pinterest is that you can get a follower from because you shared something that resonates with them. And then they, next time you write about that topic, it's very likely that Pinterest is going to show them that pin too because they interacted or repinned your last one. So it's just one of the simplest ways, I feel like Pinterest is the least stressful social network.
Yeah.
It's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just go, and you know what? Go spend a few hours today, spend a few hours next week. And guess what? The algorithm isn't going to forget you between week 1 and week 2.
Right.
Unlike some of the other ones we know. So just take it as a test, and just start doing research. And my guess is as you start doing research and start seeing what people are interacting with from other people's content, it's going to motivate you to get your own content on there as well.
Awesome. I want to take this time because we've got some great questions and I want to pull some of those up. But as I'm doing that, Lisa, go ahead and tell about this this Survive and Thrive guide we have. So if you want to find this, it's at bit.ly/TW Survive and Thrive. That's all lowercase, all smashed together. And check that out. So talk about that for a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So this is a worksheet I put together specifically to help people who would like to add on to their Facebook marketing and do Pinterest as well. And it walks you through how to think like your customer and find out what is working on Pinterest for your topic. It will walk you through what your competition is doing and how you can pull out some ideas from that. It also is going to walk you through how to take advantage of the trends that are really happening right now. So I sent this to Jeff the other day. If you go to trends.pinterest.com, I know it's in the US and Canada. I'm not sure if it's everywhere yet. But I was curious about, a sector that I really am feeling for right now is travel.
Right.
So I've been trying to figure out how do we help people in travel industry. Okay. So if you look at travel, most everything is taken a nosedive. However, there are a couple of things like travel photography and travel aesthetic that have just taken off, right? So people have temporarily taken a little move from planning to fantasizing. Right. So if you can adapt your content that way, it doesn't even have to be brand new content, but if you can just adapt the way that you're presenting it, there are little bright spots for everybody that can help you to get more traffic, to build your email list so that when things like travel, which aren't really feasible right now, when they come back online, you're going to be in a much better position. So that's the Survive and Thrive part. Yeah. So then it's going to walk you through creating some pins and how to pin and a little checklist to make sure you're getting the most out of your pins. But it's really a little brief guide to get you started if you've never done Pinterest, or if you just want to optimize what you're doing.
Yeah. Once again, you can find that at bit.ly/TW, Survive and Thrive. Now, I want to pull up some questions, and this is a great one here from Aaron. He asked this question, or she asked this question. But what if I don't have a lot of Pinterest followers, Holly?
And this is such a good question because it doesn't matter. In fact, let me just tell you a little secret about actually pretty much any algorithm out there, but they treasure, and Pinterest especially, Pinterest treasures the average user over the super user. And it makes sense because mathematically, when you pin something, because you've only pinned 22 things in your life, Pinterest is going to weight it as more special than when it's my 53rd pin of the day. Okay, so I have all these followers, but Pinterest is like, yeah, but like, come on, super user, like we can't show everything.
Knock it off.
And this is why it's so important to get, like in my case, the average mom, I need her to pin the unicorn slime. Because when I go into my Pinterest analytics and I look at the source of my top pins or repins, it's always like Sally from Nebraska that has 22 followers and like 3 pins, but one of them was mine.
Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, so like it doesn't matter. In fact, if you have little to no following right now and you start getting really strategic about pinning, not only is your following going to grow through pinning, but Pinterest is actually going to wake up and say, I wonder why that was so important that he hasn't pinned anything for 42 months and now all of a sudden he pinned those 3 things. They must be kind of important.
Right.
I think this kind of speaks to kind of a mindset of social and thinking about Facebook versus what Pinterest is. So on a lot of networks, Instagram particularly, like followers are pretty much everything. I mean, we have hashtag searches and location searches we can do, but mainly it has to do with your followers, where on Pinterest, most of the activity is happening in search, which is fairly follower agnostic. I mean, you can reach way more people than ever would follow you. So don't feel like no one's going to see your content, because that's not true at all.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to go find things that are already popular on Pinterest that you like, and just rework the if you know anything about SEO, or just think about what would you search if you were looking for that, and just rewrite the description a little bit. That pin already has juice. And then if you add some keywords that maybe people are searching, but Pinterest hasn't really associated with that picture, it can set your pin apart. So, I mean, like and here again, there's nothing to lose. If someone sees it, you might get a follower.
So
and Pinterest really wants that fresh content now too. So if you are out there creating brand new images for Pinterest, that's another thing where Pinterest will take notice, especially if you have verified your website. They know the content's coming from your site. That's going to get you quite a boost. And especially if you're just starting out, it seems like people get that initial boost. So like prepare for it so that you can do it right.
That's a good point. Here's a great question because we were talking about a lot about sharing other people's content, and Holly was talking about how she got started. So Chris asks, how do you monetize sharing other people's content?
So I don't, but I build my community on the back of that other content. Right. Because I can't and I have a big team on Kids Activities Blog, but I can't literally write the best blog posts every single day in every single category that I cover. So if I find the most amazing thing here and the most amazing thing here and the most amazing thing here, and I present it to my community through Pinterest or through Facebook, that my community, my followers basically give me credit for it, because they don't care it's not from Kids Activities Blog. So I build my communities, I build my followers, I build that target for that ideal customer, that ideal reader, on the backs of those other blog posts and other articles. But the truth is, it's a win-win situation, because the fact that I promoted it gets that person, more hits, more community awareness as well.
So I want to,
and I think that that's really, really key on Facebook. Just hold your horses, Jeff.
That's a good one.
Yeah, where if the engagement on the thing you share from someone else is really high, then the next thing you share is your own content, which is how you monetize. Then that's going to get you more engagement and more distribution for that piece of content. I think like on Pinterest, they're really trying to help us to move towards more creation over curation. But it's still like, as you're sharing that other people's content to like in a moderate kind of way, you are learning what works for your particular audience. And then that's definitely going to help on Facebook and help you to monetize too.
Well, and you have to remember that these algorithms are based on kind of the credibility that you have with your user. So like if I'm pinning a bunch of stuff that my followers are just scrolling past and never interacting, that's going to devalue my credibility in the eyes of Pinterest. But if I'm repinning things and pinning original things that stop that scroll and get that click and get that repin, then that brings me to the forefront of that algorithm on a bigger level. So while Pinterest may be wanting new stuff, there's still popular stuff on, because I can't go home and create 30 new things today that will rank number one on Pinterest. But what I can do today is create one thing and then go and repin some things that I think are awesome that are in that same space. And that's going to help me stop that scroll for my follower.
Gotcha. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you, because we've talked about, and Pinterest is great for traffic. It's not really great. So I won't say it that way. So community. How do you build community? I mean, Facebook, we have a lot. I know we made fun of the crafting with crap, but you did 7 seasons, and there's a reason you did that, because it built community, is what I'm guessing. So how can you build community over on Pinterest? Or do you is that just for traffic and then you use Facebook for community? Or how are your thoughts on building community for your brand?
So I really build community through my email. And so that's like my primary goal, is to use both Facebook and Pinterest for getting people who would like what I have to offer in onto the blog, and then opting in for something awesome that I'm going to give to them in exchange for their email address. And so that's my primary goal, because once I get them into the email, then I can tell them stories and they can actually get to know me, and they can see if, oh yeah, she's just like me, or I really like her, or she sucks, I'm going to unsubscribe. So
Never.
We can figure that, oh yeah, in hundreds a day. But that's good, because they're not my people. I need my people to be close to me. And this is another thing that I do in my email is, remember we talked about Sally from Nebraska that, pinned 3 things, and one of them happened to be the unicorn slime. Well, the thing is I need her to pin, my latest chalk, sidewalk chalk drawings for kids during a pandemic. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in that email to Sally today and say, hey, if you're on Pinterest, Sally, here's my most popular pin right now. You might want to add it to one of your boards if you're pinning kids' activities. And so that, if I can get Sally to go out and repin what I'm doing on Pinterest, that's when I see a really magic. When my community can be seen on Pinterest as associated with me, and on Facebook associated with me, and on Instagram associated with me, that can be a really, really powerful.
Awesome. Well, here's a very practical question, and I know that you sell stuff on both Facebook and with Pinterest. So Nina asks, is there any tips for brands business on how to post pin their products for people to buy them? She has baby strollers, baby toys, and carriers. So do you have some advice for her?
Yeah, so I felt like Pinterest is, and I used to have an e-commerce store and sell clothing, and we felt like Pinterest was one of the strongest platforms for that, as far as like, oh my gosh, I want that. But the thing is you have to stop the scroll with the, oh my gosh, I want that. So the marketing over there is a stop the scroll marketing. so, you're like, the running shoes that I'm not like, oh my gosh, why are those running shoes so amazing? Like you're just going to scroll by unless you go in and search, I need a running shoe. And then that way you're probably going to do better with a review type post. Like, hey, I ran in these 30 shoes and this is my results. But if you have like this crazy baby stroller that every mom in the world is going to want when they see it, then you have the perfect product, because you're going to put beautiful pictures. And on Pinterest, it's completely fine to do aspirational photos. People pin what they want. Whereas on Facebook, they share what they think they can do. So it's a little different psychology. But if you have like this crazy, the baby stroller that has the television and the blah, 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 like I would pin that in all its glory with all its features, because that's something that I would be like, oh my gosh, I want that on my baby board, because that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, and you can also pin it in a beautiful house that you'd like to have someday, or being pushed by somebody with the physique that you're going to have 3 months postpartum. It's all about the dream.
Like models after we have babies, by the way.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
But yeah, like you can, and then like that's where I think the video pins are so strong, is where you have that beautiful picture of the baby stroller, and then maybe you have a video of how it pops up when you pull it out of the back of the car or something like that. Something that people are like, holy crap, that's amazing. And not only are you going to get repins on people that just are like, oh, that's cool, because there's a lot of us that just pin, oh, that's cool. And then you're also going to get the person that's like, oh my gosh, I'm putting that on my baby board because when I deliver in 6 months, that is the stroller I want.
Yeah.
So Holly, is nice. For each one of your blogs on Kids Activities blog, is it automatically go to Pinterest? I mean, is there any content that you go, I'm not going to put that on Pinterest for some reason?
Well, so for the most part, everything that we write goes to Pinterest, except the only thing, and we're starting this back just because of the situation we're right now, is like kind of those like journal entry type blog posts. Those don't go there. That does not do well over there. I still am yet to figure out how to put a hook for a story on Pinterest, but like everything else and the way that we've created the template of our WordPress template for the blog, if you go to my front page, you'll see that all the photos, the feature photos are 4x6 strategic so that we always have a pinnable image at the very beginning of the blog post. Historically, people just normally pin the first photo. So like there's things that you can do to make sure that your blog is Pinterest worthy. And I would say one of the biggest things is just making sure that you have a Pinterest worthy photo, just really accessible to somebody who's reading.
Gotcha.
So Holly, your content in your niche is especially, like we talked about before, it was built for today, right? But like overall in Pinterest, there's been a 43% increase in board creation because people just want to try something new. Now, like a lot of those are kids' activities. There's been a 67x increase in searches for indoor scavenger hunts for kids. Which sounds like fun for me,
we have
frankly.
Plenty of. It's activities.
Oh, good. Good. Right. Go check it out. So obviously you've been taking advantage of these trends before they were trends. But if we think about some other niches where their content doesn't feel as relevant today as it did even a month or two ago, like we talked about travel, like some fashion, like so athleisure, obviously, because we're all wearing our gym pants, taking off crazy, but a lot of fashion not doing so great. A lot of weddings are getting canceled. Like what do you advise people to do now? And is now still the time to get started on Pinterest or to continue on Pinterest?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing you have to remember about Pinterest, which I always have appreciated, because like I am in the kids activity space, which is generally our average reader has a kid between the age of 2 and 7. Well, my kids are all teenagers now. And so as much as I'm like, woohoo, kids activities all day and night, that's not my life. And so, but that's my online brand because that's the brand I've built. The cool thing about Pinterest is that I can have a cowboy boots board and it's fine. I can have a, tile that I love and I want to put in my kitchen board, and that's fine. Like, it does not have to be a one-way conversation just about, all things toddler and preschooler, even though I haven't had one in the house for 10 years. And so the cool thing is you get to be like, you get to have other interests. And so, like, for instance, while travel is down, one of my top posts this last month on Kids Activities blog was virtual field trips that you can take with your kids from the couch. So nice. How can you take your travel virtual? How can you, maybe you're going to show them how to do some digital scrapbooks from the travel that they've already done in the past. We have time. Think about what they could do around that subject, because your reader really well, your customer really well. What could they do in that niche, in that space, to celebrate travel that maybe they have time for now that they didn't before? And so, and the other thing I want you to look at is look at your community. And what they are clicking on, what pins they are interacting with. What is there a theme? One of the things that I saw on the Pinterest trends is pets. Totally makes sense. All of a sudden, we're spending 24 hours a day with our pets.
Right.
Yep.
That can be a problem if your pet is like obnoxious or needs to be trained or has behavioral issues or like the other. I'm sure my dog doesn't take pills, and so I normally take her to the vet to get her like a heartworm shot. And so I had to figure out and Google and put, search on Pinterest how and when I say my dog does not take pills, I'm not just like, oh, I've tried to stick a pill down her neck. No, it's like my dog will spit out molecules from a pill. And so so these are the searches that are happening on Pinterest. And a lot, and in fact, I was on Pinterest, I'm thinking it was 10 days ago, how to use one of those nail clippers for the dog. Because all of a sudden, I can't take my dog to someone qualified to do that.
Right. So now you're going to have like a dog psychologist because of the trauma that you've put the dog through.
Actually, I need a psychologist after attempting unsuccessfully to clip those nails.
Oh, that's amazing. So I want to get to some practical questions that some people have here. And this is one from Michelle. She asked this question, and we've talked about it sometimes on the show, but I would love Holly to hear, since you have so much traffic and you're dive into the analytics, but she asked, how much text should be on a pin? Have you experimented with that? I'm sure that you have. Yeah, I can tell.
I did.
So let us know what you have found out for your audience.
Yeah, in fact, in the very early days of Pinterest, I strategically, I had a software at that time, which was obscenely expensive, that would give me the stats for every single pin, so that this was literally one of the most scientific studies I've ever done in my life. And what I did is that 50% of the things I pinned had text, and 50% of the things I pinned did not have text. And I did that for a 3-month period to see what the results were. Because at that time, everybody was like, put text everywhere. And the crazy thing is, and this is what I found, is that for Kids Activities blog pins, like the ones that we made, like with the templates and stuff that I instructed my team to do, it was actually 50-50. There's no change whether it had text and whether it didn't. But on other people's pins, and I'm just going to say something not very nice, is that sometimes people don't put text well on pins.
Right.
So it's kind of a hot mess. So you're better off, and this is basically the underlying thing. If you're not very good at like spacing and design of text on pins, you're better off with no text. If you're good at it, then it's basically 50-50.
So have you found anything, because now that Pinterest is actually able to read the text and is supposed to be giving like more weight to that, because that factors into search, and we've talked about this on the show before. How long ago was that test? Have you thought about running it again? Because that would be the only reason I would say to put text, but you have to make that text, make sure, just like you said, that you do a good job with it, and that so Pinterest can actually read it with the algorithm.
Yeah, I actually think it's even a bigger deal today that the text needs to be beautiful, and it needs to be well spaced and pleasing to the eye, because like the ante is raised. It's just a bigger game on Pinterest, and so you're better off. But think about the other elements that you have. You have the title of that photo, and I mean the file name. The file name of that photo. You have the alt text that may or may not have come over from the blog post and that kind of stuff. So you have other indicators that could help Pinterest know what that photo is about besides just the text. And I think you're actually better off unless you can do it beautifully. And it's not an easy thing. But on the other hand, like trying something and learning how to do it on the job is totally legal. And you can pin ugly things. They will, like some of them will do well. But what you're going to learn from that is that you're going to have to up your game over time to get the optimal exposure from any one pin.
Right. And Elise and I hate scripty fonts. So that's the other.
Well, I mean, Pinterest has a hard time reading them. You can see that on the Medium blog. They showed what they can read on your text, and they could read a sign in the background with the word book. But when they use a scripty font on the pin, they could only read ook shops. So it's important not just for humans, but for Pinterest as well. Then you also want to take into account the pin title. So that's really important to use your keywords there, not repeat them in the description. And I think, like for a lot of bloggers, text on image is a must-have, because if you're going to use a flat lay of flowers in a computer, you've got to give more context about what the content is. If you just posted that, you're relying only on the pin title, which is good and important, but it's not going to stop my scroll.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing. You have to work. You have to up if you're using stock images, you're going to have to up your game too.
Yes,
because I feel like Pinterest is going to devalue anything that it sees as a stock image just to begin with, because like you say, they're wanting these original content things. And like, if it looks like, deposit photos or big stock photos, like, who wants to scroll? Well, it is kind of fun to scroll through those, but yeah, who wants to scroll through those? And so, like, I would challenge you to figure out a different way of telling that story. One of the things I've tested on Facebook and on my blog, on my business blog, is to use more art pieces instead of because everything I write could have a girl on a computer with flowers, although I would kill any plant that's in my house. So that probably is not a really wise decision, but everything we write about social media and blogging could all have that exact same stock photo. And so what would make my post about the Facebook algorithm stand out, over the other 4,000 pins of a on a computer talking about Facebook algorithm? So I think thinking about art and the world in a little bit different way could be really, really helpful. And maybe this is the case where the photo doesn't have a lot to do with it, but it stops the scroll and might stop the scroll of the person that would be interested in that.
Yeah, I'm all about stopping the scroll. That's why I love the video pins. And we had some questions about that. And just like Holly was saying, I would think to test it. And there's some great easy. You want motion. I call them Harry Potter pins because they look like the Harry Potter when you open, in the movies, the newspapers. It catches your eye, and it's still so much on Pinterest is static, and I know they're pushing video pins, but those video pins really stick out. And the test that I've done with them, that worked really well. So, we've talked all about today about, testing things, seeing what's work, listen to Holly, even though she's a guru and she said not to. You still need to listen to her and test.
I'm not a guru.
She's a ninja. No,
she's a Pinterest mad scientist.
That's right. There we go. Yeah. Yes.
I'm a super user.
Yes. So that's what we've been talking about today is test everything, try it, see what works. Get, you want to stop the scroll. And I think Holly gave a bunch of great examples during the show today. We do want to make sure that you guys don't miss out on this download that we have. So if you're, Elisa mentioned all the cool stuff that's in it. You can go to bit.ly/TW Survive and Thrive. That's bit.ly/TW Survive and Thrive. But Holly, I've been following her for years, even though my kids are grown, and it'd be creepy if a bearded guy was, at the site. But she is so smart. She's a great presenter. Holly, tell people where they can find you. Mention your business blogs and all the stuff that you're doing, because I want to make sure that people know where to get a hold of you.
Sure. Thanks, guys. So kidsactivities.com, if you have kids, if you're stuck at home, we actually have a button on the front page that's called Stuck at Home. And everything, like our Stuck at Home category is getting updated multiple times a day. So if there's things and resources that you need for dealing with children at home and distance learning, we have everything available. I'm also on Pinterest as Holly Homer, and all these things are being pinned there too. And then Quirky Mama is my Facebook page on Facebook. And then if you're interested in kind of the algorithms and the geekiness behind all of this, which is actually where my passion lies, is you can find me over on hollyhomer.com.
Awesome. Elisa, as always, we'll let you have the last word, maybe.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, I do have something to tell people about. So if you go to that link that Jeff has up on the screen there, that bit.ly/TW Survive and Thrive, if you click on over to the next tab, Relief Program, there's a little smiley huggy face there. And this is the first place we're really announcing this, because you guys are wonderful and we love you. We wanted to do something because we know that businesses are in a tricky place right now. We completely get that. So we've established a $1 million small business relief program to help businesses out. And just some quick details are you can get 3 months of Tailwind at no cost, whether you are an existing member or a new member. And then as you're filling out the application, you can gift that to someone else as well. So you'll have the option to grant the 3 months to 3 more people if you know somebody who wants to get into Pinterest marketing and or Instagram marketing, but really can't add another expense right now. We want to help out where we can.
Awesome. And you also have something going on later tonight. So make sure you put the link in there. See, if I would have let you have the last word, we've been in trouble. So
I know. Thanks for keeping me on track, Jeff. Yeah, so we have a Pinterest get together, and I'll have to grab that link. So what we do is we hang out with, that's why the balloons are here. We hang out with some of our friends, and we talk about Tailwind. We talk about Pinterest. We have a whole spreadsheet now of the trends that are that Pinterest has sent to us in a partner email, plus everything they've published. We brought them all together so we can share some of those. People can send their pins in for critique. We know you love that. And we were supposed to have a design with Julie. We're going to do that next time because we kind of ran out of time. But come on over. We'll redesign pins together.
Awesome. And that's going to be down in the comments, so we'll do that. As always, I'm going to go ahead and say the last word so I can stop the show. Thanks, everybody, for coming by today. Make sure that you go and hit this downloadable, and we will see you again next. We have a show coming up on Tuesday, so we'll see you during that time. So thanks so much. Thanks, Holly, for being here, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye now.